The human reproductive system. Reproductive system is an organ system that is different for by males and females. The first photo by looking at the female reproductive system is the diagram of the front view and the side view of the system. The female reproductive system has two ovaries and these containing egg cells. One egg cell is released each month. The eggs will then travel in the oviducts or the fallopian tubes. These tubes that connect the ovaries to the uterus. Half of the diagram shows the uterus or the womb is where the baby develops. At the end of the uterus is the cervix. It is the ring of muscle at the entrance to the uterus. Further down, the vagina, where the man's penis enters during sexual intercourse. Close point to the reproductive system, we have the urinary system. We have the bladder, which stores the urine, and the urethra, which is a tube that carries urine out of the body.
Female reproductive system. Female reproductive system is more complex, both structurally and functionally. It consists of a pair of ovaries attached with ligaments to the uterus. The ovary produces female gametes or ova. In close relation to the ovary, oviduct is present. It is a funnel-shaped structure, usually with fabricated margin. The end serves to pick up the ova liberated from the ovary. The proximal end of oviduct enters into the uterus. The uterus is a muscular bag. The wall of the uterus has three layers of tissue. The external thin membranous perimetrium, middle thick layer of smooth muscle myometrium, and inner glandular layer called endometrium that lines the uterine cavity. The endometrium undergoes the cyclical changes during menstrual cycle, while myometrium exhibits strong construction during the delivery of the baby. Under proper hormonal stimulation, uterine endometrial wall gets modified for the implantation of the fertilized ovum, and also forms placenta and foetal membrane during intrauterine development of an embryo. Uterus opens into a long tube, the vagina the opening being guarded by cervix of the uterus, a sphincter that prevents the entry of harmful bacteria and other substances inside it. Vagina serves to receive sperms after copulation. The accessory glands associated with the female reproductive tract are Bartholin's glands opening by ducts at the external genital opening. Associated with the female reproductive system are mammary glands, their function being the nourishment of the young ones during prenatal life. The mammary glands are paired structures breasts that contain glandular tissue and variable amount of fat. The glandular tissue of each is divided into 15 to 20 mammary lobes containing clusters of cells called alveoli. The alveoli open into mammary tubules. The tubules of each lobe join to form a mammary duct. Ducts join to form a wider mammary ampulla, which is connected to a lactiferous duct through which milk is sucked out. The female external genitalia include mons pubis, labia majora, labia minora, hymen, and clitoris. The opening of vagina is partially covered by membrane called hymen. The clitoris is a tiny finger-like structure above the urethral opening. Female reproductive organ diseases or disorders. Female reproductive system disorders can also be caused by diseases in other organs whose function impacts reproductive systems. Example, the brain, hypothalamus, pituitary, thyroid, adrenals, kidney, and liver. The symptoms of this illness are usually painless. Disorders of the female reproductive system can occur as a result of disease in one of the many varied reproductive organs: the ovaries, the fallopian tubes, the uterus, the cervix, the vagina, or the breast. During the reproductive years, these disorders often present as altered menstruation, pelvic pain, or infertility. The first disorder is endometriosis, a syndrome characterized by the colonization of the abdominal pelvic cavity with endometrial tissue island. Often painful disorder in which tissue similar to the tissue that normally lines the inside of your uterus, the endometrium, grows outside your uterus. The most common cause of endometriosis is retrograde menstrual flow. Some of the tissue lost during the period goes into other parts of the body, such as the pelvic, via the fallopian tube. Genetic factors endometriosis may be inherited in the genes since it runs in families. There is currently no cure for endometriosis, but various treatment options may help manage symptoms. They include pain relief, hormonal treatment, surgery, fertility treatment, natural remedies, and many more. The second disorder is the pelvic inflammatory disease, or the PID. Although males have a close abdominal activity, the female abdominal activity has a direct anatomical path from the outside world via the female reproductive tract. Bacteria can make their way up the vagina, through the uterus, and traverse the uterine tubes which open into the abdominal activity, caused by an infection developing in the female upper genital tract. A bacterial infection spreads from the vaginal or cervix into the womb, fallopian tubes, and ovaries in the majority of cases. Your provider will prescribe antibiotics that you take by mouth. Make sure to take all your medicine even if you start feeling better. Often your symptoms improve before the infection goes away. Your provider may recommend you return a few days after starting the medicine. They can check the treatment. The third disorder is the polycystic ovary syndrome, or the PCOS. PCOS affects a woman's ovary, the reproductive organs that produce estrogen and progesterone hormones that regulate the menstrual cycle. The ovaries also produce a small amount of male hormones called androgens. The ovaries release eggs to be fertilized by a man's sperm. The release of an egg each month is called ovulation. The exact cause of PCOS is unknown. There is evidence that genetics play a role. Several other factors also play a role in causing PCOS. Higher levels of male hormones called androgens. High androgen levels prevent the ovaries from releasing eggs ovulation, which causes irregular menstrual cycles. Oral contraceptives are the most common and effective option used to manage PCOS symptoms. There are two types of oral contraceptives: combination pills and progestin-only pills. Both types of birth control are effective for treating PCOS symptoms and can help you. And lastly, these are the tips for reproductive health care. That's all, and thank you.
In this video, we are going to discuss about the male reproductive system as well as its anatomy and physiology together with its common disorders or illnesses. So first, what is the male reproductive system? The male reproductive system includes a group of organs that make up a man's reproductive and urinary system. These organs do the following jobs within your body. Number 1, they produce, maintain, and transport sperm, or the male reproductive cells, and semen, the protective fluid around the sperm. Number 2, they discharge sperm into the female reproductive tract. Number 3, they produce and secrete male sex hormones. In addition to that, the male reproductive system is made up of internal or inside your body, and external outside your body parts. Together, these organs help you urinate or to get rid of your body of liquid waste materials, have sexual intercourse, and even make children. So next, let us discuss how does the male reproductive system function. The entire male reproductive system is dependent on hormones. Hormones are chemicals that stimulate or regulate the activity of your cells or organs. The primary hormones involved in the functioning of the male reproductive system are follicle stimulating hormone or the FSH, luteinizing hormone, the LH, and the testosterone. FSH and LH are produced by the pituitary gland. It's located at the base of your brain and it is also responsible for many functions in your body. FSH is necessary for sperm production or what we call the spermatogenesis. LH stimulates the production of testosterone, which is necessary to continue the process of spermatogenesis. Testosterone is also important in the development of male characteristics such as their muscle mass and strength, fat distribution, bone mass, and also their sex drive. So next, we will be discussing about the anatomy and physiology of the male reproductive system. What are the external male reproductive structures? Most of the male reproductive system is located outside of your abdominal cavity or pelvis. These external parts of the male reproductive system include the penis, the scrotum, and the testicles. So, what are the internal male reproductive organs? You have several internal organs that are also called the accessory organs. These accessory organs play a big part in the male reproductive system. These organs include the urethra, prostate gland, ejaculatory duct, seminal vesicles, and lastly, the bulbourethral glands. So here is a quick view of the male reproductive system and the diagram will be provided. And also, to further discuss the anatomy and physiology of the male reproductive system, a video recording will be provided as follows.
So in this video, let us learn about the male reproductive system. To begin with, we take a look at the location where the sperms are exactly produced. These oval-shaped structures on either side are the ones we are referring to. The single structure is called testis, while the pair is called testes or simply a pair of testicles. Now these are an important part of the system and need to be protected, right? So we have a covering of skin over it. This forms a bag-like structure, and do we have a name for it? Yes, the bag-like structure is called the scrotum. So the scrotum is the pouch which contains the testis. Now the sperms produced will have to travel in order to reach the female body. So who will make sure that the sperms are carried outside the testes? This responsibility is taken up by the mass of coils that we can see here. This is called the epididymis and the pair is called the epididymides. The mass then carries the sperms to this single connecting long coil. This is called the vas deferens. Where will the deferens carry it further? Directly outside the body? No, they will carry it into something called as the ejaculatory ducts. But where does the ejaculatory duct head to? It heads to a destination where the sperms get mixed with a nourishing fluid. Wait a second, what kind of fluid are we referring to? And why is it needed here? Basically, the sperms need nourishment to survive. Also, they need to be protected from acidic conditions coming their way. Hence, various glands come to the rescue by secreting a few important secretions. The first one is the seminal vesicle. It secretes a fluid that helps in nourishing the sperms. Can you see this bulb-like structure here? It is the prostate gland which helps in secreting the prostate fluid. Now the sperms floating in the fluids reach the urethra, from where they can be released outside the body. But wait, all the secretions are not yet completed. This P-shaped gland found here gives another important secretion. It is called the Cooper's gland or even the bulbourethral gland. Now with this secretion, the formation of semen is complete. The semen is simply the fluid carrying the sperms. It is carried out by the urethra which runs through the penis. Now these sperms will reach the female reproductive system and only one among all will be able to carry out the fertilization of the ovum. But tell me one thing. Looking at the structure of this single sperm, can you guess whether it is a unicellular or a multicellular structure? It is a single cell. Although the structure may not seem to be that of a single cell, the sperm is definitely unicellular. It bears a head region called the nucleus. Then it has this middle part with the mitochondria for providing energy to swim across. But then who will help in the swimming process physically? That's the business of this tail region. The tail helps in the swimming activity. Now we are done with the basics of the male reproductive system. Let me quickly recap the process we saw above. The sperms are produced by the testes. The mass of coils called the epididymis carries the sperms to the vas deferens, which is a long coil. From there, it goes to the ejaculatory duct where it gets mixed with nourishing fluids. From there, it reaches the urethra. And after the secretion from the Cooper's gland, the formation of semen is complete. So what will we learn before the fertilization process? Of course, the female reproductive system. Do watch our next video to learn more about it.
As we are about to end our discussion about the male reproductive system, let us talk about the conditions and disorders that the male reproductive system may experience. Number 1, the cryptorchidism. Cryptorchidism literally means hidden testicle. It is a condition of lack of descent of one or both testes into the scrotum. If not corrected, usually by surgery before puberty, it can lead to sterility and increased risk of testicular cancer. Number 2, the varicocele. Varicocele is a dilated and twisted veins of the testis. It is sort of the hemorrhoids in the scrotum. It manifests itself as a swelling on the side of the scrotum which may feel and look like a bag of worms. It can also be surgically corrected if it causes you discomfort. This condition may also cause a reduce of sperm count and male sterility due to sluggish blood flow elevating the testicular temperature. Lastly, the hydrocele. Hydrocele is a fluid-filled sac partially surrounding the testis. It manifests itself as a swelling on the side of the scrotum. It may cause discomfort and it can also be surgically corrected by a urologist.